That's the easy way out. Just shut it out and ignore it. But when you face your problems head on and you really deal with it, that's like truly the only way to move forward. Rap, I feel like, is something that I kind of like always have. And it's easier for me to like be able to express or evoke emotion with that because I have the tools for that already. The more mature I grew and the more in touch with myself and just with the world in general, I had a lot more of an acceptance for, I mean, not just music, but people in general. I think the biggest impact for me in the last 4 or 5 years has for sure been therapy. Even if, 2 times in a row, it's just me like kind of venting to her and her listening. Maybe that third time she'll give me a sentence or a piece of advice. I'm like, I never thought about it like that, or something I can grow from. So I think it's important to do things like that even when you don't need them. I think there's some things I regret to a certain degree, but reframe it in a place of thankfulness. Even if it's something horrible or something really bad, it's like I'm thankful for that experience because I've grown so much from it. I always was genuinely freestyling, like making it up as I go, and it was really pushing the bounds of my creativity. Would it be cool to like blow up? Sure, but I'm not going out there for that reason. Yeah. I'm going out there because I truly and thoroughly enjoy music, and I really am excited to share it with people. I was really resonating with those sad feelings, like appreciating those feelings.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh, I'm so sad the world's over. Oh, I hate feeling like this. It was like, this is part of being a human. This is part of the human experience. This is a part of life. The great 50 Cent once said, joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain.
Welcome to The Ambiguous Truth. I'm your host, Anthony Mistretta. This episode is a conversation with a friend of mine who I actually met at a pregame. He was DJing, had an extremely diverse repertoire of music that he was mixing. And I think you'll come to learn that he has an even more diverse repertoire of conversation topics and interesting takes on life. Please welcome my friend, Logan Jones, aka Lojo. And now on to the show. Well, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Lojo or Logan, I'll let you introduce yourself however you want.
All right. My name is Logan, aka Lojo. Local DJ on the side, clinical research manager by day. Originally from the East Coast, landed in Denver during COVID, and I've been having a blast since I moved here.
Thank you. So yeah, you mentioned that you're a DJ. I want to take us back quite a few years.
All right.
So we were having a conversation while walking through the park.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago. And was it at the show I think it was at the show when you first mentioned that you were at Ocula.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you first mentioned that you rapped. But even before that, what was the first thing that you did in music, in like sort of exploring the creative arts generally? Maybe not even music.
Yeah, I think creative arts first would probably be art itself, like drawing art, I was pretty big on that when I was young. I did that throughout middle school and high school. Musically, I actually played the saxophone as well in 8th grade.
Do you still play?
No. I probably haven't touched one in, 20 years. It's been quite a while. But that was like the first thing I did musically. I mean, I would be down to get into it again.
Sweet.
My dad used to talk to me about it all the time because he's a huge blues guy. And he would always be like, you're only not interested in keeping up with the saxophone because of what they're making you play. It's like if you like would get together with one of my buddies and like let him show you how to like jam on one, then you'd be much more interested. And I think I just kind of like fell out of it in high school and never picked it back up.
Oh, like you were too sort of rigid with your playing, and that's not the point. Like the point
yeah,
is to...
like playing hot cross buns wasn't doing it for me. Really, I wanted to be like ripping solos and stuff, but the stuff that I was jamming on was really not for me. Like I started off as a clarinet for like a year, and got my Squidward on a little bit. Didn't really care for that, and then I switched to the saxophone for my 8th grade year, and that was like my last year I did band because my middle school required you to either do band or chorus. I was like, well, I'm absolutely not doing chorus. Let's see what's up with band. And then when I went to high school, I just kind of fell off from band. I think at least in my area, band had a pretty bad stigma in high school. I was a multi-sport athlete, so it was like something I was like, I don't think I can take time away from that to
What was the
to do
stigma?
band. Like you're a nerd if you're in band or
Ah.
something like that, And when I was a lot less mature, those are things that were like a lot bigger of an impact on me. Now I don't care about any of that at all. But, back then it was a whole lot of a different time in your life.
Yeah, when you said in your area, I thought it was going to be something like unique to
Nah,
your.
I mean-
I don't think that's. I think that's brother as a saxophonist in fucking band. I don't think I was the coolest kid. No one was. Okay, and then after that, in high school, is that when you really got into rap?
Yeah, I think not right away in high school. I kind of grew up in a little bit more of a diverse neighborhood, and like the majority of the people that I hung out with were big rap fans. And myself and my younger brother, that was kind of what we grew up on. Like not from our parents, but just on our own. That was the music that we really enjoyed while we were growing up. Was like rap and hip hop. So that was pretty much all I listened to until I got to college. And I think just having such an appreciation for it when it was like the only thing that I listened to and being that dominant in my like music intake, it really inspired me to kind of get into it myself. And I remember the first time I tried it, I was like, all right, well, I might be like a little bit better at this than I thought. And I just decided to stick with it because I was surrounded by, one of my best friends at the time, a guy named Jeffrey. Me and him used to just like rap every single time we hung out and kind of like keeping with it and stuff. Got me excited about it because, sometimes you'll say a line or something you get really excited about. And then after that, I just picked it up more and more from there. And then in college, just like went kind of crazy with it.
So how did you find your way into electronic music?
Electronic music, I actually got shown the way, I'll say, in college by some friends. So I got introduced to pretty much every other kind of music in college aside from rap. I remember some of my friends used to rag on me like freshman and sophomore year because I didn't know anything at all about rap. Like not even like the main stuff like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, like that kind of stuff. I was really like unfamiliar with everything because ever since I had a car, I always had an aux cord, so I never listened to the radio ever. Like pretty much barely ever listen to the radio. So like you're not hearing that unless I'm playing it, and I was only ever playing like my kind of rap. So I never heard like I didn't listen to Dark Side of the Moon until like my sophomore year of college for the first time ever.
That's such an interesting point, and it parallels what we were talking about before this conversation around like being grateful that we grew up like both with and without technology.
Right.
Because I haven't even thought about that, but like, yeah, I mean, the radio is, I don't know, they say the radio's dead, but like, I mean, I know people who still listen to the radio, but I do
100%.
think regardless whether or not it's dead, I think the reality is that the internet has enabled so much more exploration of music because the mediums for sharing it, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, and then before that was LimeWire and other things like that. There's so many ways to just increase that reach. That probably makes sense why it feels like there's more edge case music and things just become more and more niches. They can grow internationally without having to be like a global recognized band with distribution of like CDs internationally. Like that's fucking hard.
No, it's crazy.
Spotify, you click a button and then it's distributed internationally.
Yeah, and they'll curate like things you missed or artists you may like. Like we didn't have anything like that. I used to go burn CDs off Walmart.com. You pay like however many cents a song and it's like a 10-track CD and you could like, I used to think it was so cool because you could pick a custom like Walmart generated graphic for the cover of the CD. And that was like my primary like way of listening before I got like my first car.
Do you still have those CDs?
I might honestly somewhere.
That would make some cool, like you're like, now without getting ahead of ourselves, but like if you produce an album, that could be some cool cover art.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool. It's like a blurry car driving in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I can picture
it's like some stock photos, like a microphone stand or something like that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So that I want to hear more about like your relatively recent transition into production. So not just mixing, but now doing more production. What spawned that interest?
So production for me is something I feel like, I don't want to say always, but since I like first got into rapping, so like I guess a little bit more background about the rapping. I got into rapping because I was a beatboxer in high school. So when I used to go to parties and like that kind of stuff, I would always be like making beats, like beatboxing for people and that kind of stuff. And then a lot of the times like people would be rapping and I'd be making the beat and I'd be like, man, I want to rap. Like everyone's rapping, I'm just making the beat. Like I want to take a turn to rap. So that's kind of how I initially got into rapping. And then from like making those beats, I used to like sometimes get in trouble in high school for like making beats on the desk. Like I used to always have an interest in that in high school, like making beats and just kind of making my own flow and that kind of stuff. And I've since then, I feel like I've had an interest in production, but I've never had the means to get into it until recently. Like I maybe could have gotten to it like cheaper in college, but I just feel like maybe I didn't have the time, but I didn't feel like I really had like the means to like, oh, I'm going to buy Ableton. I'm going to buy a nice computer. I'm going to have like
financial means.
Yeah, financial means.
Got
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, maybe mental as well, might not have had the space really for it, but it's something that I kind of always had in the back of my mind. And once I started DJing out here, and I met so many people that have so many different interests and do all kinds of things, producing, DJing, working. I was like, there's not anything stopping me from it now, I think it was easier when I was younger and I had a lot more instability, a lot more like uncertainty in my life where I was like, there's an easy excuse to be like, oh, like I'm not going to start producing because of this, or I can't do it because of X, Y, Z. But, I think it was last year in March was when I first got Ableton. I was like, there's not anything stopping me at this point. Like, even if I don't have the exact amount of time or the best setup right now, like I've been thinking about it so long, it's something I need to just go for. And that's like that.
What I do know about you is that sort of like go for mentality seems to hold true in other areas. Like I was talking to one of our mutual friends about when you first wanted to be a DJ, Frankie. She was saying like, oh man, Lojo is great because he just reached out to everyone. Like you could tell he just like really wanted to become a part of this ecosystem and just like made a point to network. And so I feel like that mentality has always been there. Do you feel like that just, I have an idea, I have something I want to go after and I'm going to chase it? Do you think that's something that's always been a part of you?
Yeah, I'd say so for sure. I think it's been a part of me in different aspects and I've kind of shown it in different ways, but I think it really came about in high school. When I first started off in high school, my first like 2 years of high school was extremely shy, like didn't know that many people. And I can't really think of like a specific moment where that changed, but I just remember like my junior and senior year, like I'm going to be more outgoing, like I'm going to talk to people, I'm going to do more things. And then like my whole entire life like did a 180 at that point. And I like exerted myself into other activities as well. I tried new sports. I was pretty much only a football player for like the majority of my high school. And then junior year, I did tennis, I did track, I did soccer, I did swimming my senior year. I was like, I'm just going to like try new stuff and see if I enjoy it. And I think I kind of carried that over into college and then even more so now in my adult life.
Yeah, like a combination of open-mindedness and like an excitement to just adventure and try new things. Like
Absolutely.
being open-minded enough to say like, I've never tried this. This could be something I'm interested in.
Right.
And not like be biased against it like, oh, band is for nerds.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, maybe it is. Maybe I'm one, but maybe it's cool.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. Can you share some of your crazy, you shared a story of you rapping and there's some wild shit that went on. Can you share that?
Yeah, I definitely can. So I have quite a few interesting rapping stories. I used to be a lot more loose, I guess I'll say, in my younger days than I am now. I feel like I'm a lot more like level-headed and in control. But one time,
I think your rap would also, what I heard, those 3 songs, I think that aligns with some of the lyrics in the.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those lyrics are not necessarily lines from back then, so that'll give you a little bit of a picture of how different things might have been, 10, however many long years ago it's been now. But I think probably my craziest rap story that I had was I was at a party. I was on a staircase actually outside the party. It was like a multiple level staircase. I was in the middle of the stairs. I was rapping. Pretty drunk, rapping for a lot of people. I had a whole group of people surrounding me, and these 3 characters come up, and you could tell they're just like not part of the crowd, kind of walked up off the street. They didn't go to the college. They just kind of like party hopping, bouncing around. And they walked up, and all 3 of them came up into the circle, like got their way to the front, and just came up to me and started like talking trash to me, like right away, like didn't say anything to anyone, just immediately came for the attack. And back then, I was not taking that at all. I was a pretty like avid battle rapper in college, and I used to like never back down from a challenge. So as soon as I heard one of them say something, I pretty much like directed my freestyle like at them. And I like, it was 3 guys, and I went like down the line to each one of them and like was just going crazy on them. And they weren't very happy about that. I don't think they expected it. So I kind of caught them off guard a bit. And one of the guys actually pulled out a gun and he held it to my head and I just continued to rap. So I think he thought it was going to like scare me or, deter me from doing what I was doing. He was holding it to my head and I just continued doing what I was doing. And it just made it that much crazier because everyone was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? It was just like pretty wild. And like, I think a fight ended up breaking out. I wasn't involved, but he like pistol whipped someone or something after that. So that's like definitely up there with one of the crazier ones.
That's wild. Why did it not scare you?
I think back then I was in a lot different of a headspace than I am now. It's almost like it might be a little bit dark, but it's like a nothing to lose headspace. I'm just out here like doing my thing on my own. Like I'm living life to the fullest. Like I don't care what happens at that point in time. I think now I still enjoy living life to the fullest, but I'm a lot less reckless in the sense like, oh, I'm like, I don't care what happens to me or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think at that point in my life, I sort of was in more of that mindset where it's like, what happens doesn't matter. I'm just going to do my thing, and that's going to be that.
Thinking of music as expression.
Yeah.
And so of a lyrical form of expression, rap, and then now more of a melodic form and rhythmic form of expression.
Right.
It sounds to me like you found the music, you didn't feel the expression first. It's not like you wanted to go from lyrics to melodies or whatever.
Yeah.
It happened the other way around. Given that you made that transition, do you feel like there's any gaps that you cannot fill through production of electronic music compared to the lyric, creation process of rap? And on the flip side, like, are there any things that you feel you can express better through electronic music production than you could have ever expressed through lyrics?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question. I think for me, I'm still so new to electronic music production and like just new, and even I've been into electronic for, gosh, maybe like 8 or 9 years or so now, and it still feels new to me because it's like when I was 12, I was listening to rap. Like when I grew up, there's so much of a longer history there. So I think for me personally, I feel like I don't necessarily have the tools yet to express myself the way I would want to with electronic music. I feel like it's a lot more difficult for me to invoke the kind of a feeling or emotion or message that I want to portray in an electronic song because I'm so basic at like the application of it. Like I know what I would want it to sound like, or I know how I want to make it, but the skill it takes to get it there, I'm not there yet because I'm just so new to like that level of production. Because, I said I got Ableton last year in March. I got the basic intro version, barely spent much time in it last year. And then in November, December last year, my birthday's in December. So my birthday present last year to myself, I bought a brand new Mac and then I upgraded Ableton fully. So I feel like this is my first year where it's really like I have all the tools to do production. So I still I'm so new to it. I don't have the application. And rap, I feel like is something that I kind of like always have. And it's easier for me to like be able to express or evoke emotion with that because I have the tools for that already. Like even if, I'm rusty or haven't done it in a while, I still feel like I have more like comprehensive tools into that like platform than I do with electronic at this point in time. And as far as like comparing them, I honestly, like some people would disagree with this probably, but I feel like you can evoke emotion equally with both. There's a lot of like newer rap that maybe I'm not the best fan of, but it still kind of evokes an emotion or a feeling or, portrays some sort of scenery. And I think like electronic music as well does that, but I wouldn't like compare them saying one can kind of evoke emotion more than the other.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I mean, in my personal experience, I think one of the things that's really drawn me towards electronic music is its ability to, in many ways, invoke more emotion than some of the music I think I was accustomed to, even though there's no lyrics. But I think I've always, like, coming from a band,
Right.
more, like specifically jazz, like jazz was my love in high school. And then sort of in terms of like creating music, it was always like,
Right.
I love playing jazz. But it always felt like uh there's just, I don't know, there was a deeper connection with electronic music to the emotion than I felt like there was even through jazz. So I feel that. Yeah.
All right, I got a question for you actually. That deeper connection from electronic music, do you feel like that's relative to like your life experience? Like the reason you associate that with a deeper connection?
life experience, like just maturing and going through
Like
more
things that you've
experience?
been through in your life, or because I would say the same for me, opposite with the rap. Some of that stuff, like obviously I can't relate to all of it, but there's some things in there that I feel like I can relate to more than like some stuff in electronic music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's a good question. I've never thought about that. I don't know. Like if I had found Ben Bomer, for example,
Right.
like a decade or 2 decades ago,
Yeah.
would it have had the same impact on me? No, I don't think so.
Right.
I think that I think it was important for jazz to play the role that it played in my music career to teach me. Honestly, I think probably because I have a tendency to be much more like logical and rigid. I
Yeah.
think jazz was a huge learning opportunity for me to like escape from that. But
Right.
getting back into playing some jazz and just trying to like improv, like it feels like there's a bit of like a disconnect from where
Yeah.
that creative juice used to be, where I could improv, and now I almost feel like I'm losing that, or I've just being out of practice, I've almost lost that creativity and that
Hmm.
flow, and I'm finding myself like going back to almost like the theory basics, very basic theory, but just like, hey, let's just play like over the pentatonic scale in
Yeah.
this song, rather than like thinking about it as a big picture and then coming up with something more like fluidly. So I think to answer your question, I don't think it would have had the same effect. I don't think that appreciation would have been there like 10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also think there's a composition component that I find fascinating, where like if you think about like Mozart or Beethoven
Hmm.
or Bach or any of these like incredible composers hundreds of years ago, it's like, well, part of the genius behind them was that they were able to, without having an entire ensemble in front of them, picture with a single piano what an entire string or orchestra,
Right.
or for anyone who composes back in the day before technology, like to be able to theorize what sound that is going to be made,
Yeah.
like that is a whole nother level of genius, where today like we take it for granted that you can just like press a button and
And
then
it's like,
have
oh,
like that
20
whole,
different guitar sounds right there.
yeah, and like, or an entire orchestra playing something. It's like, or an entire string section playing these 3 notes, building this beautiful string choir, and it's
Yeah.
like you push a button. So um I think that like the composition piece of electronic music, while it's still accessible, is or it's more accessible than like it was 100, 200 years ago or more. I think just like maybe because of that, it's almost like the creation of music is more ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And I think that recognizing through band, I learned how difficult it was to create and compose music, because I could never in a billion years do that. And now meeting a lot of people who are producers, it's like, oh, it just brought that hurdle down. And
Yeah.
now it's amazing that you have access to all these, and it opens up the door for people who may not be like the savants that Mozart or Bach were, to still be creative geniuses in their own
Yeah.
right. And I think that part of the appreciation for composition stemmed from a band background. And had I not gone through all those years of band, I probably wouldn't have appreciated electronic music, because it is truly a composition.
Hmm.
You're not just writing lyrics, you're creating an entire chorus, an
Right.
entire. So I don't know if that even answers the question, but I
No,
think
I
that's
think it
kind of
does.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my take. I'm curious what sort of that evolution of, both in terms of like the music that you consume, but
Hmm.
also like how the music that you now create is a bit different. How is that? How is your like concept of music evolved through the years as that's changed?
I feel like that kind of reiterates, evolution throughout your life. And for me, it's like a growth in mental and emotional maturity. And I think like letting walls down of judgment. It's like the more mature I grew and the more in touch with myself and just with the world in general that I grew, I had a lot more of an acceptance for, I mean, not just music, but people in general. It's like, when I was younger, there might have been people that I would have judged, like, oh, that guy looks weird or something like that. And now I'm like, oh, that guy's cool because he's expressing himself in a way that's different than a normal person.
Right.
And I think that like that as a whole kind of plays into music for me, because I would give music a chance I never would before. Like
Right.
when I was in like high school, I'm not like getting in the car and putting on Beethoven. But now, I have like Bach and some stuff on vinyl that I listen to like when I'm just chilling, like on a glass of wine or something like that. And it's like a whole different appreciation for that kind of music. And I like right now, my favorite genre of music is progressive house. And if you'd have asked me that 7 years ago, I'd have been like, get out of here. You know, I didn't even listen to house music like 3 or 4 years ago.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just like it's like in tune with a whole different part of myself, and it's just really like relaxing and uplifting and ethereal, and it just brings like a whole different vibe. And like I don't have to listen to like crazy dubstep all day long or
Totally.
you know, anything like that. And I just having a much more open mind has caused me to have a lot more interest in a wide range. Like I listen to a lot of foreign music as well. You know, there's like some French bands I listen to. I have no idea what they're saying, but it sounds awesome.
All right, so I'm gonna bring it up because I was a little bit hesitant to touch on this subject.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna add an addendum to the answer of your question.
Okay.
And then it ties in really nicely to where I
Yeah,
wanna
let's
take
do
this.
it.
So the addendum is also, I think it's important to note the usage of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I think drugs have definitely changed my way that I experience music.
Mm-hmm.
From festivals, you know, and like maybe not even festivals, but like the reason why I moved to Denver. Do you know this?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I took a national park trip from Joshua Tree all the way through like Arizona,
Yeah.
Nevada, Utah, and then Colorado, Denver. Ended here for like 2 weeks. This was years ago. And as a thank you, my buddy let me stay at his place in Denver for 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and I just got to frolic about. So as a thank you, Ben Bomer is playing at Red Rocks. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, I'm going to get us tickets. We're going to go. He's not a fan of his music, but like, whatever. And a buddy of mine back in Atlanta gave me a tab of acid, or maybe two.
Mhm.
I think it doesn't matter. But he gave me some amount of acid that I could share with Stevie. And so
Right.
we took it and we went to the show. And I remember just like, it definitely kicked in the perfect time right
Mhm.
as we got there, like came up as the artist, you know, got more intense. And it was like Cree, if you know,
Oh yeah, love Creed.
French Canadian, I think. And then oh man, I used to probably rattle off I don't even remember. I do remember Bob Moses, but I did not enjoy that performance.
Yeah.
But I just remember seeing it, and when Ben Bomer came on, like the hour, 2 hour set, whatever he played, I just remember like not being on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And there was a moment when I'm in a new city. This is the first day I think I got into Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been traveling out of a bus for 2 weeks prior. I was definitely not feeling like Atlanta was home anymore.
Yep.
And I remember just like closing my eyes, listening to his music, and a forest appeared. And it wasn't like a forest where it just looked like a normal forest. It was
Right.
like everything was outlined in like primary colors of light.
Mm-hmm.
And like red, green, blue around everything. And I just remember like falling back in this sort of like dream state and being caught by a tree that just like grew along my back as I fell. So it just like kind of caught me as I fell like back in slow motion.
Yeah.
And then like provided shade, comfort, safety. And I knew like that's it felt like Mother Nature.
Right.
It felt like the literally like the world was just saying like, you're safe here. And pretty much in that moment, I was like, all right, I'm moving.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I got back to Atlanta, packed up my bags, put it in storage, and, you know, made a beeline back out here. And so I think that the usage of psychedelics,
Mm-hmm.
and even like recreational marijuana has allowed me to appreciate things on a deeper and like much different level.
Right.
So I think that's a big factor that drove this evolution. Now, what is it specifically about electronic music that like tickles me so much? I don't really know. I don't know if I have like an answer. But you talk about that. We've had conversations
Right.
about that. And I'm curious, like, how has psychedelics have played a big role in your life as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious from the music perspective, you know, has that sort of paralleled your shift from rap towards EDM? Has the types of drugs kind of shifted? Have like what you've been looking for shifted? But then fundamentally as a human being, how has your perception of the world shifted?
Yeah, I would say 100%. I think the way that it shifted my perception as a human being and my view of the world like ties directly into the way it shaped my like change in music. I think the biggest takeaway that I have personally from psychedelics is continuing to push myself to be more open-minded. I think I had a lot of closed-mindedness before that and a lot of judgment and a lot of opinions and judgments I was holding on to for all kinds of things, people, places, music, things like that. And doing psychedelics caused me to kind of let my walls down and accept a lot more things into my life. And that, played a direct impact on accepting music into my life. And it's like before that, I was like, oh, there's not going to be anything as good as like rap for me. Like no one's going to be putting it down like Waka Flocka, or, like that's like how I used to think in high school. And then it's like the first time, you take some mushrooms and listen to Pink Floyd, you're like, all right, hold on a second. Hold on a second. There's a lot more out there than you think, And I think like listening to those types of songs, like under the influence of psychedelics kind of gives you a little bit more of an appreciation for that music. Not that obviously not that you can't appreciate it without, but you kind of get more in tune with what message they were portraying and kind of what they were trying to put into their music, because that was like the transitional period for the United States and drug culture. And, kind of globally, the 60s, 70s, the big acid movement, kind of Grateful Dead sort of pioneered that, as well as a lot of other psychedelic bands back then. And that really kind of brought psychedelics to the forefront and really introduced it heavily into the scene. And you can really understand that kind of music as like, these are all people almost all at the same time experimenting with somewhat of a new drug that people aren't necessarily familiar with. And people are pushing the boundaries of human creation, human thought, and how kind of they can push their mind, performing while under the influence of psychedelics, writing songs under the influence of psychedelics. And it was really like a transcendental period of music. And I feel like you can really listen to and understand and like feel that in that kind of music.
Yeah, totally. And all right, third time you've brought up the open-mindedness.
Yeah.
So I think that it's very clear that that's been a big shift in kind of just everything from music to even career and
right.
So aside from the psychedelic influence, are there any practices that you explore like on a regular basis to try and further that open-mindedness, or just any sort of like things that you do to improve in that area, or other areas like gratitude practices or something of that like?
Yeah, I think for me, again with the open-mindedness, like going to different shows, maybe I'll go to a band I've never heard of before, go see a local band or something to try and meet a new group of people, like, get a new experience from a whole new group. But I think the biggest impact for me in the last 4 or 5 years has for sure been therapy. And I know a lot of the times, especially like a while ago and with our parents' generation, like therapy has a really bad stigma. Like, oh, you don't go to therapy unless you're crazy. Like no one goes to therapy or they're going to get a lobotomy or, like back in the day. But like it was really intimidating for me to get into it. I kind of had thought about it for a while, and I had a lot of struggles in college and a lot of things I was dealing with. And I really didn't get into therapy until, 2021. I had a tough breakup then, and I was really going through a lot, and I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. Like I'm going to see what it's like. And since then, it's been monumental for the amount of growth I've made in the past couple of years. And I think that in itself has really like kind of transcended the open-mindedness, because it gives you like a whole different perspective. And I think I even said this to Frankie the other day. I was like, I did a lot of things that I wasn't proud of when I was younger, but I feel like I've always been a good person at heart. I just at some times in my life didn't have the tools to be the way that I wanted to be. And therapy for me gave me those tools to like, oh, okay, I'm going to understand how my actions make this person feel. Or, like instead of just about me, like how I feel, how this hurts me, it's like, well, how does my actions make the other person feel? Or how does that person I interacted with feel about that interaction? So like having that different sort of a like switch on perspective really gave me a lot of tools to kind of like operate the way that I feel like I've wanted to navigate the world for the last decade or so.
I feel similarly. Like there's definitely things that I've done in my life that I am not proud of.
For sure.
Like, I wish I could scratch them off the record, but you can't. And so instead you have to learn from them.
Exactly.
But I haven't really thought about it from like the perspective of I didn't have the tools to like be, live the life I want. I think you said specifically live the life. You didn't have the tools to live the life
like,
you wanted to.
Be the way you want to be to the world. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yeah. Be the change you want to see.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
Yeah.
it's funny because I use that exact example as an apology to someone. Like I had a falling out with a friend a couple years ago, and we reconnected like a year or so ago. And when we reconnected, I was like, look, honestly, like at that time, I did not think I was doing anything wrong. Like I truly felt I was in the right at that moment, and I felt like I was doing the right thing. And I was like, I'm telling you that at that moment in time, I did not have the tools to handle that situation properly, and I apologize for that. But it's like, it's not that like, oh, I wish I would have done something different, because at the time I didn't have the tools to do something different. So
Yeah.
it's like framing it in a different way, like not that I'm not taking fault for it or taking blame, but like saying that I didn't like have the capability to treat that situation properly at that time.
Yeah, and it's a great apology because it's objective. It's not, it's sometimes you can apologize and have it come from a place of like emotion where you almost want to feel, or it seems as if you like want to feel like some guilt,
Yeah.
or some pity perhaps.
Right.
Right. But that's like, no, I recognize my fault. I recognize it was in this capacity. But also not being too hard on yourself and realizing that like it's a journey. You got to learn, you got to grow.
100%.
Do you find that you're someone who lives with regrets?
I try not to.
Yeah.
I think there's some things I regret to a certain degree, but I think, kind of what we just came off of discussing, to me, helps me reframe it in a place of not regret, but like thankfulness. Even if it's something horrible or something really bad, it's like I'm thankful for that experience because I've grown so much from it. It's like my first relationship in Colorado ended terribly. And like I had at the time and, shortly after, I had a lot of regrets about how I handled it. But, now looking back on it, I'm thankful that I treated it that way because it showed me how not to act moving forward. It's trying to like reframe my thoughts to use things as a learning experience, to not put like negative connotations on mistakes that I've made.
Yeah.
Because everyone makes mistakes and you're not ever going to be perfect. And I think if you sit around all day long and regret everything you've ever done, or like there's those memes, I just sit in the corner and think about every bad thing I've ever done, like thinking of it or framing it that way is going to have a negative impact on your life, and it's going to cause you to have more difficulty moving forward.
Yeah.
But if you frame it in the sense that, oh, I learned that that's not the right thing to do, or that taught me how I can treat it differently moving forward, it'll give you more of a positive outlook on your mistakes. And that's like the mindset I try to have moving forward now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's dangerous to get caught up in the trap of like, oh shit, if only I did this.
Right.
Like, well, I mean, kind of if only, but like you also learn from it. There's
Yeah.
also yeah. Um, you mentioned the growth that you've gotten through therapy. Um, what are the areas where you want to put your like emotional bandwidth towards now? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. For me, I just try to put my emotional bandwidth towards relationships and interactions that are like going to be beneficial for me. I think that's been something I've picked up a lot. It's like, for example, you meet a girl or something, you like try to talk to her, she's not interested. It's like not putting your emotion or your mental energy into like pursuing that if it's you clearly someone that's not going to show the same mental energy or emotion towards you. And I think that I've been practicing a lot within the last year or so, and it's kind of fully reshaped my life as far as like friends I interact with. It's like, some people I might have cut off, or some people I don't talk to barely as much anymore, because I'm putting my energy into people that are putting energy into me, or people that I know are genuinely having a positive impact on me. Like I'm chasing those connections rather than just like, oh, I've been friends with this guy for 10 years. Let me just keep texting him because we've been friends for so long.
Yeah.
And it's like realizing like, that might not be a good relationship for me anymore. And that's okay, because things change and, people go through different paths and people change. But it's like, I want to ensure I'm surrounding myself with people that are going to be positive impacts on me and, positively supportive of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm not trying to go out and drink 20 beers, like not someone is going to be like, oh, you suck because you didn't do that. Someone's like, yeah, that's cool. Like do your thing or whatever, and I feel like I have friends that do differently than I do with substances and beers and stuff now, because I've taken a huge step back from a lot of that. But like, I don't have anyone that's like pressuring me like, oh, you're lame if you don't drink, 15 shots tonight or something.
Chug that fucking beer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, just like, even if you're not on, you don't have to be on the exact same plane as everyone you interact with. It's just people that are supportive of you and your journey.
I think that's such a great distinction, because I catch myself thinking, is this someone I don't actually want like in my life because they're at a different place?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's not true, like that I
Yeah.
want them in my life, but it's like hard because you realize, oh, maybe they're in a different place, you know?
Right.
But no one's ever going to be at the same place as you all the time. And like at the
100%.
core, if there's, you know, growth that you can see through each other and there's, you know, a friendship and there's love, then like it's okay if you're in slightly different places.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there also has to be like, I think generally like, I don't know, values that align. Like there has
Mhm.
to be some sort of like common thread that keeps you coming back to that person.
For
Otherwise
sure.
it's like, yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's definitely been, I mean, we talked about it last time walking through the park, like
Right.
kind of the challenge of like finding it's come up a lot lately actually, is like just the challenge, especially as like adults, finding people who they want to just have a walk in the park and that's the event, right? They don't want to just like,
100%.
let's have a walk in the park. All right, that was fun. Now let's go to a bar. Like now let's do like it's almost
Yeah.
like this. We have to be doing something like social drinking or whatever, rather than just like how about we just connect as human beings.
Right. And it's like for me, like this might be like a broad statement, but I feel like people do that because they're worried they're not going to be entertaining enough, or it's like maybe
Mm.
society or something has like convinced them like, oh, me just my company is not going to be enough for someone. And I think, not saying every single person's like that, but it might be some sort of a level of, I'm not confident enough in myself to entertain this person, so let's go somewhere where I know we can do something, like I know we can drink beers and listen to music here, or I know there's going to be a band or other people here. But it's like I find a lot of enjoyment, when you invited me to that walk in the park. It's like I know this is a guy that's going to be comfortable, like hanging out, talking, like getting deep, on that kind of level. And it's like if someone just invite me for a beer, you can never tell. Like, can you have deep, great conversations at the bar? Absolutely. But it's hard to gauge when it's like someone that wants to do something, like there's only one thing to do is to enjoy each other's company. Like that's how it's like it's on a different level than like a normal interaction, I'd say.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I've never thought about that before, but that is an interesting insight. And I don't think it is, probably not generalizable to everyone, but I
Yeah.
do think there's like almost like I need a fallback. I need something to fall back to that's like entertaining when I lose out of lose, things to talk about or
Right.
whatever. But I think people generally like the irony of this statement. People talk too much.
Yeah.
And here we are. But no, I do think like there's also beauty in just like silence, and
100%.
like, oh, I'm just gonna get out to nature and just hear. I've been dying to use
Yeah,
that.
perfect opportunity.
Right? I think that's one of two that I remember. Oh
Yeah.
wait, I think I know where the applause is too. I'm definitely one of those people who's like, school and work destroy your creativity.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely buy into that. I drink that Kool-Aid. You've had a lot of experience with like rap, and
Mhm.
then you got to college and kind of experimented in more, broader variety of music. Do you feel like your desire for creativity and for like expressing and exploring that side of you has always been there and been constant, or do you think it's something that sort of ebbs and flows, or like you felt it kind of like waning and you're like, "Ah, I need to get this back"? Like how has your journey through just creativity kind of evolved?
I think I've always had a sense of creativity that I've been yearning for, but I definitely would say it ebbs and flows as far as like the level of intensity or how much mental space I have for it. I was a really, really good artist in high school. I was actually supposed to go to art college, and then I didn't because I just didn't have a passion for it. And the reason I didn't have a passion for it is I was like really phenomenal. I could draw anything exactly how it looked perfectly. But the reason I did not have a passion for it is because there wasn't enough creativity for me. So my big issue was I was really good at, I could look at a picture, draw it exactly like it looks. I could look at a painting or like a scenery, draw it, paint it identical. But I had no creativity in the sense I couldn't just like get a blank piece of paper and I'm going to draw an octopus. It looks sick.
Right.
Or I'm going to like draw a phenomenal mountain landscape without a reference. And that was the main reason I got out of it, is because I kind of discouraged myself from it. I felt, if I'm not able to just sit down and create something awesome without looking at anything, then almost what's the point? Like if I can only just copy images, I know there's people that are famous from, painting landscapes and that kind of
Yes.
stuff. But for me, I really wanted to be able to like, I can draw, a squid, a giant squid or something like exactly perfect on its own without a reference. And the difference between the things that I drew with no reference and the things I drew with reference was like, it looked like it wasn't even the same person pretty much. And that was like the number one factor for me of why I kind of took a back seat from that.
Interesting. So you kind of felt like the creative process is like you have the technical skills down,
Yeah.
but the creation act, like the ingenuity, the novelty of the drawing process
Yeah.
wasn't really there. You were
Yeah.
just really good at executing the technical side.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a lot of friends like back then, like you should get into you should do tattoos, like you should do this. I'm like, for me, it's like, could I do it technically? Probably, but it's not as fruitful for me if I can't, like, someone comes to me with an idea and I can't just like off the head like rip a sick like rendition of that idea, you know?
So what did you transition to when like drawing art wasn't for you?
That was like right when I got into rapping really seriously, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
Like I was doing art pretty seriously in high school and I was rapping like relatively seriously. You know, I was like in the parking lot after high school, like rapping at my car with a bunch of people and like at parties and stuff. And then I was doing art because I took art as a class. I was in like an AP art and stuff like my senior year, like doing like the best art. And then after that, when I got to college, like I didn't take art at all anymore. And not having art, like, you know, I kind of split my creativity between art and rap. And then art, I wasn't feeling the creative side as much. You know, it was sort of a creative outlet, but it wasn't like really pushing the boundaries of my mind. And I'd say when I got into college without having that, I really honed in on rap because it was really, really pushing the creativity. You know, I think, again, not to say a general statement about all people that freestyle, but from my experience, most of the people that I interact when they freestyle, they're not actually freestyling. There's, I'd say, you know, maybe even 6, 7 out of 10 people that freestyle in a cipher or something would spit like something that they've written before or recite a verse that they've wrote previously. And a lot of times you can tell because of like the cadence, the flow. Like, you know, if you're a freestyle rapper, you can tell. And I feel like a lot of times I'd be like, all right, this guy's saying something he's wrote before. This guy's spitting one of his unreleased verses or something. And for me, I always was genuinely freestyling, like making it up as I go. And it was really pushing the bounds of my creativity. You know, I used to sit in a room with my buddies and they would just give me random words and I would freestyle and rap with those words, like kind of just like practicing and just like having fun. And that was like the big differentiator for me when I used to battle people in college. Like I used to crush people a lot because a lot of people would just say stuff that they've memorized or stuff they said previously. And, you know, I would start like rhyming stuff off somebody's shirt or something like that. And it's like, you can't like say anything about that really. And I think that was like a big gap for me, and it was a really big like push for me creatively because it was a lot of times it was like nerve-wracking. You know, it's 100 people surrounding me and I'm making stuff up as I go, and it's like nothing can be bad because like you have one bad line, it's like, oh man, like that was not good. You know, so it's like consistently like everything has to like be coherent and make sense, and you're just making it up all as you go the entire time.
So it sounds to me like sort of creativity in your eyes has like a sort of necessary like spontaneity component to it.
Yeah.
It's more than just like your ability to, because I mean, if you're writing lyrics to a song, which you have done, right?
Yeah.
You've written lyrics, you've rapped it, right? But if you're sort of operating under the guise of a freestyler and doing that, it almost sounds to me like you perceive that as if you are drawing a landscape that you're looking at.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well, technically you're doing the skill right, but
Right.
you're lacking like the ingenuity, the creating something from nothing. And it sounds to me like this something from nothing is the thing that you're really drawn to in art and creative.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's another reason why I've like really been enjoying producing because
Yeah.
you know, you open Ableton, there's not just like a song in there waiting for you.
Yeah.
You know, I had to build every single drum individually, like making drum and bass, like every single snare and everything you can build in there individually. So I think like that is a big thing for me being creative from nothing. It's like when I open the DAW and open Ableton, I'm starting from a completely blank slate. And I have to just create every single piece of the song and make it come together cohesively. And it's kind of the same thing with rap. You know, when I used to be an avid freestyler, it's like I would maybe sometimes like when I was about to go, I'd like think of like my first line or something. And then like after that, it's like everything is just like spontaneous, like on the go, like looking at stuff and saying like, oh, like rapping about like a color I just saw, or like a thing I saw, you know? And for me, it made it a lot more exciting, you know, it was like a lot more exhilarating and maybe like more excited to pursue it because it was more fruitful for me. Like my thought was like, I mean, not that anyone can just write like sick raps, but my thought was, if I write down a verse before and just memorize it, like what's the point of doing that? Like that's not going to be any fun. But like it's fun when there's a bunch of people surrounding you and you're just making it up as you go and you say something killer. It makes it much more meaningful because like I just made that up completely.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, I wrote that 2 weeks ago and memorized it.
Yeah. And you just happen to be wearing a shirt with the word on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's interesting. So how do you feel like you were able to express emotion through rap, and then how do you feel you're able to express emotion through both DJing and production?
For rap, I think, the emotion I was expressing was just my creativity. Maybe like I would say an emotion like some of my songs that I recorded back there that I wrote sort of portrayed some of my lifestyles back then, as we kind of were talking about earlier. But like it just was really a big like hype emotion during like rap battles, like really going to town on someone or something. It just like evoked a lot
It's more
of
like the excitement.
yeah,
of the
like the
moment.
emotion of like excitement or like how passionate I was about it. And like it was my way to express like my appreciation for that music. Like I'm going to show people how good I can like rhyme these words because I have such a deep appreciation for this kind of music. And it's like showing my excitement for the genre and like kind of my association with the words and that kind of stuff. And like, the amount of time I put into doing this, like the amount of hours I've been freestyling, like what I grew up on. And it kind of like spoke to my background like a little bit because like I kind of grew up freestyling like in high school, and like a lot of the things I went through back then. So it's like it gets almost like an ode to some of my younger years that I could like carry forward and like adapt as I move on. And for DJing, producing, I think I'm still kind of getting there. I have like a couple songs that I'm kind of proud of, but again, I'm still working on that technical skill for those emotions. But DJing, I just think it's just so nice to be able to like curate the energy for an entire room, like just I most of the time for the last couple of years, usually when I'm like hanging out with friends or stuff, I'm usually always playing the music like at the party or
That's when we met.
I just went to a festival last weekend. I was like playing the music the entire time at camp, it's like I think I've always had kind of a joy for curating the vibe, I guess, for lack of a better word. And, that is like DJing to me, is I'm like, everyone here is dancing because of the song you're playing, or like everyone is having a good time because of what you're choosing to play.
And I feel like that is like the art of mixing.
Yeah.
And actually I wanted to talk a little bit about like tech and AI
Mhm.
in both production, but also in like kind of with DJs, right? Like Spotify has their DJ. I mean, Spotify sort of in a sense is a DJ with like its Discover Weekly and stuff as well.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like I've kind of come to this sort of like my mental framework for leveraging AI is like, while it can do a lot of tasks, and as a developer, I obviously use AI a lot for that.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
because like it's objectively better than me in
Right.
every way. Maybe not. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that it's
Mhm.
objectively a better developer than I am. And so I think my framework for when to use AI is like when it does something that like humans are trying to do but will never be as good as a computer. Like why would
Mhm.
you use a human when you can use a computer for something that's like computational and far superior as a computer?
Right.
But there's also a lot of things that like I fundamentally believe computers should not do, right?
Mhm.
Like people who are posting their text with their girlfriends and they're asking
Yeah.
ChatGPT. We talked about this at the
Yeah,
party.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I get that you can do that, but like that's not setting you up for long-term success because when you have a conversation face to face and AI isn't there, sure you have, Ray-Ban Meta or Meta Ray-Bans and all that stuff, but like just operating on the assumption that like one party is completely without AI or even both parties are completely without it, then it's like how are you going to be able to communicate as human to human? Like,
Right.
I don't want to communicate with my girlfriend or whomever, through fucking meta glasses.
Yeah,
Like, I want to
no.
communicate with them as a human to a human. Hence why I'm doing this shit.
Right.
That's literally why I'm here. So you mentioned like what you feel is like kind of what makes a good rapper or a good producer is your ability to sort of create from a blank slate.
Mhm.
I see a lot of ads for like all these like AI and their tools used for like production where they're just sort of like templates and stuff. Like, how do you feel AI is sort of, and you're actually entering in a weird time because like now you're kind of starting production and so is AI is getting
Yeah,
into it. So
right.
like, I
We're
guess,
we're learning at the same time.
yeah, you're learning at the same time. Do you feel strongly that like AI detracts from your ability to like create, especially given kind of your definition of like creativity and stuff? And do you feel like it's yet another tool in your kit, and if you don't use it, you're falling behind?
I would say I don't necessarily feel that it detracts from myself personally, and I would hope that other artists feel the same. I mean, call myself an artist might be a little extreme at the moment, but
I don't think so.
yeah, I would hope that like, other creators or, people in the music scene would feel the same as me, because regardless of how much AI learns, or regardless of how much technical AI ability that they obtain, or, even how much they can understand or copy AI, the one thing that they will never have is the human experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main reason that people enjoy and listen to music, is because you're listening to someone's experience. You're getting the perspective of that artist. AI can copy a perspective, but it's not ever going to have a human perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big differentiator, that no matter how much technology advances, that will never go away. There'll never be an AI song about an experience that they lived through, or, it's not going to be a human connection that you can really relate to, of an experience from the person that wrote that song. And regardless of the genre, I think there's a genre for everyone. I would say objectively, there's music that people don't enjoy, but there's music that can relate to everyone in some way.
Yep.
And, they are listening to those artists because they can relate to those artists. One of my favorite bands of Montreal, they're very weird, very eclectic, like very interesting. And their lyrics are so crazy and so out there. And they're one of my favorite bands on the planet, just because I can relate to them so deeply, because some of those crazy thoughts and like the emotion they invoke in their songs really reminds me a lot of times I used to go through when I was in such transitional periods in my life. And like, that's a feeling like you can only get from like another human writing a song, because you're really feeling that their experience. It makes me feel like this guy lived through things that I lived through as well, or I can relate to like the way that they're saying this song.
100%.
And I think that's something you'll never get from AI.
And even if they can simulate that emotion, that emotional experience that a human has, you still know, like, well, that's not the human's experience, right? Like, that's not the actual human being. So even if it feels like it's a human experience, you know that there's not a human behind it.
For sure.
You asked me that question about like my evolution of, experience of music and stuff. And I think a big part of it, and a reason why I think I've shifted towards more like, deep melodic progressive house, is because I actually think with heavily like lyric heavy music, you get you kind of you're forced to, it's almost like you're reading a book where like it's painting a very, very, very clear picture of a very specific situation of a breakup, heartbreak, or of maybe a big win, or, whatever it may be. I feel like with electronic music, it's sort of a emotion that is painted, that is presented, and then you are reminded of a time when you felt that emotion.
Yeah.
Like it's almost the opposite, where it's like with heavy lyric music, say country, folk, any of that stuff, or like classic rock.
Yeah.
It's like bringing you back to a time, and then you experience that emotion. I almost feel like with electronic, it's like, let's actually just bring the emotion to you, and then you can think of times that invoked that emotion. Do you feel similarly?
I think I would agree. Yeah. It causes you to have your own experience, and that's why it's so widely palatable to such a diverse group. It's like, all kinds of people come from I meet all kinds of people from all over the world, from everywhere. I'm a big Above and Beyond Anjuna fan, and like when I go,
you don't say.
Yeah. And when I go to like an Anjuna event, I like last time I was at the Gorge, I met people that came from Singapore. It's like people from all over can relate to the same style of music because of what you said. Like they have different experiences.
Yes.
They like, that might have reminded some guy of a time when he was in love, or, someone when they had a big win at work, or someone when they like lost their mom or something. It could be like a big impact on someone's life that they recall for that song. But like you mentioned country, it's like someone makes a song about drinking beers at the farm. There's not many other ways you can feel that other than like, all right, I remember that time I was drinking beers at the farm.
Yeah, so when I'm drinking beers at the farm, which I was doing last weekend, I was enjoying some country music.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I want while I'm drinking a beer and building a dome in 100-degree heat? I want some drum and bass. We got into drum and bass later, but not the moment for drum and bass.
No. Those are like the way you said it, those are tailored to specific experience.
Yeah.
Like when I listen to like Black Sabbath or like Ozzy Osbourne, I want to like smoke a cig in a dive bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm not thinking about like the time I like fell in love. I'm thinking about like, I want to go like pound beers and smoke cigs inside. That's like the feeling it evokes for me.
Totally. And I feel like there's a bit of like a like a, I don't know if double-edged sword is the right framing, but like I almost feel like when you if you listen to music, like listening to, you said Black Sabbath is like
Yeah.
dive bar. Like I feel like there are certain songs or even genres that I listen to, and after I listen to it, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm in a dark place. Do you feel that? Like,
I feel that with some music for sure. Like there's some music that I think like if maybe I won't listen to it unless I'm like having a tough time or whatever. I mean, I just mentioned Black Sabbath 'cause I was listening to Ozzy Osbourne this morning on the way to the gym. I was like, you know what, this is what I need right now to get me going.
that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I was talking to someone about 30 Seconds to Mars today. I'm like, that's like probably one of the softer rock bands I'll listen
Mhm.
to when I'm like lifting heavy.
Yeah.
Because I definitely err on this. I don't know. I'll listen to some like more classic stuff, but if I'm listening to rock, it's usually like some pretty dark shit. I want someone
Yeah.
screaming in my ears when I'm
Yeah,
snoring.
like screamo or
Yeah,
something. I'm not like
yeah.
listening to that while I'm like drinking tea, you know. I'm like at the gym fighting for my life, fighting my demons. Someone's like, bro.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Do you know who Chelsea Cutler is?
Yeah.
She's definitely like, when I start putting Chelsea Cutler on, I'm like, oh, I'm in my sad boy. Like, oh shit, what is going on, Anthony? But on the flip side, there are times when I think I like tend to listen to some sort of song and I'm like, oh shit, this is, yes,
Yeah,
this is like, oh, like beautiful.
100%.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe for me why I've grown so much more into electronic music is because it's palatable for me through all those emotions. It's like you were saying, it's like, oh, I'm sad, I went through a breakup. Maybe I'll put on some R&B or like, you know, some Luther Vandross or something like that I wouldn't normally listen to all the time. But it's like electronic for me. There's like parts of electronic that are like appropriate for every one of my feelings.
Yeah.
You know, it's like liquid drum and bass. I can listen to that at any feeling, like sad, happy, angry, whatever. It's like it's just so like soulful and like ethereal, and I can feel so many different things from it. And the same with progressive house. You know, it's like I listen to progressive house and liquid drum and bass primarily while I'm like working. And like it's music I can work to, but it's music I can go see a show to.
Yeah.
It's music I can listen to at the gym. It's music I can listen to when I wake up in the morning. It's music I can go to bed to. You know, it's just so many different facets I can apply that music to. I think that's why it's become like what eclipsed into one of my favorite genres. And like those are my two favorite genres at the moment, just because I could listen to them anytime. You know, I like for last weekend, I went to the Pretty Lights Music Festival, and the entire weekend I listened to liquid drum and bass. The entire weekend, the whole entire time. And we didn't like. No one was like, "Oh, change this." Someone's like, "Oh, I don't like this." Like it was just like fitting the vibe perfectly the whole time we were at camp for the whole weekend.
Where were you again?
In Buena Vista for Pretty Lights Music Festival.
Pretty Lights, that's it.
Yeah, I actually hadn't seen him in over a decade. I saw him.
No way.
Yeah, I saw him in 2015 the last time in Hampton, Virginia, at the Hampton Coliseum.
Okay.
And then he had his whole like drug thing and he like retired and then he just came back, I guess 2 years ago maybe now.
I think so, because I think he played at Hula like last
Mhm.
year.
Yeah, he
There was like a
did.
big like, oh, I'm not sure if he's gonna be there or not. Like
Right.
there's still some concerns. So I think, yeah, within like a year or two is his resurgence.
Yeah, this was his big, like this was his festival. He's the one
Yeah.
who like curated it and threw it. And like my friends are like huge Pretty Lights fans and it was an awesome time.
Have you thought about doing any sort of like concert or festival like curation, or doing anything on like the event side?
I would like to. I feel like it's a little intimidating to get into. You know, I feel like it takes a lot of connections, or either a lot of connections or a lot of capital. And there's not necessarily a way around that. It's like, you know, it'd be a lot. It really, like, would it be impossible? No, but it would be extremely difficult for me to like throw my own festival right at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, could I do it? Probably, but you know, could I do it to the scale I would want to do it? Definitely not right away.
Yeah.
Could I throw a small one? For sure. But you know, I think I need to like build more into my music career before I was able to do something like that. As far as a festival goes, you know, I'm not sure that's something I would necessarily want to do. There's a lot that goes into that, and a lot of responsibility, and a lot of like backlash, and a lot of stuff. I would like to choose a lineup for one. I think that would be sick, you know. But that's in an ideal world. I actually was literally just thinking about this today. I kind of want to start getting into doing some of my own shows around Denver. I feel like I'm at the point now where I can kind of start doing that. You know, like just start something small, like, you know, like Larimer Lounge Treehouse. Like, do like, I was literally thinking today about doing like a drum and bass event there, because that's something I feel like they don't do a lot there. You know, like I know they have a lot of bass music and they do house only on weekends. But I think like, you know, like a drum and bass event would be cool there. And I'm like, that's something I feel like at this point I could probably do. Like I could probably make that happen.
I'm also all for just branching out from like purely house.
Yeah.
It feels like such a house dominant city.
It's house dominant. I mean, I literally, they, not to call them out too much, but I'm playing Larimer Lounge on Friday, and they like in the booking were like, we only do house music on Fridays and Saturdays, like nothing else, like only house music on Fridays and Saturdays. Like if you want to do bass or something else, it's got to be like a weeknight.
Right.
And that's why I'm like, maybe I could do like a Thursday liquid drum bass, like, and then maybe like if that goes well, then maybe they could start doing that on the weekend or something. But I agree with you. I think the main reason for that is because house, in my opinion, and EDM is the most widely accepted as the most palatable. Like, you know, there's a lot of like bars and clubs that will just play like only house. They'll play like rap or house.
Yes.
But it's really, I mean, Europe is different because they're ahead of the times and they got amazing taste. But in the United States, like you're not going to walk into a club and just hear drum and bass. Like unless you're going there to see a drum and bass DJ, you're not going to like walk into like Temple or something and just hear like drum and bass playing on the speakers. Like that's not going to happen.
House is safe.
Yeah.
It's when I first started listening to like electronic music, it very much started with house, because like the idea of like some of the splunky shit I listen to now, I feel like someone just played that for me like 5-10 years ago. I'm like, what the fuck is that's not even music, that's noise.
No.
And now I'm like, that's the most beautiful music I've ever seen. You know,
100%.
like, face melting. This is
they
amazing.
can't just like play that at like the rooftop bar. But like not many people are gonna complain about like techno and tequila, like you know what I mean? Like someone hears that, they're out of the bar drinking, like they're not gonna have any complaints about that. But you know, like a drum and bass roller or something, like face melter, and they're like, all right, like you guys need to take a step back.
Let's chill a little bit. You're a big B&B fan, aren't
I'm
you?
a huge drum and bass fan, and that's one of the genres I got into relatively recently.
Yeah.
And it's just like changed my whole entire perspective, I'd say.
How long have you been on the production side?
Like a year, I'd say.
Okay.
Like really seriously into it, like 6 months.
Okay. And so how, like, what do you produce? What genres?
I produce mainly like progressive melodic house and drum and bass.
Okay.
It's like the two that I'm most passionate about.
Yeah,
I have been working on some hip hop. I think I was talking to you about this earlier. I want to get back into rapping. So my goal is this year I want to like produce my own beat and record like my own song, like rapping, like a couple songs, maybe like an EP. But I've made a couple hip hop beats, but mostly I've been doing like drum and bass and like progressive melodic house.
In Soccer Moms, you had a line, spitting bars till my body drops. I don't remember what came before that, but I remember that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this motherfucker, I don't hear him spitting bars lately. But I'm curious, like, do you think that line, like, I feel like there's an interesting like thought there of like the concept of permanence.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's anything in your life that you did back in the day that you will see through till death?
That's a good question. All right, I gotta clarify. That line is actually my buddy Fabio. So
that's not yours.
Yeah, he did first verse on that and second, but no, he was like my partner in crime in college for rap, and he's phenomenal. I have a ton
so
of.
Were you the third one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a ton of respect for him. He's a phenomenal rapper. So me and him used to go back and forth all the time. I love that verse actually.
Okay.
But no, I think for me, it's hard to say. Like it's really hard to predict the future because I've had so much change in my life. But rap, I feel like always has a part like in me. You know what I mean? Like I've just really gotten like back into rap a lot this year. It's like I think this is a whole different conversation. But I feel like my ex that I was with for a couple years sort of like discouraged me from listening to it because she wasn't a fan of it, and that kind of like made me detract from it. And it's like for me, that's always a part of me, And I was like really excited to get back into it this year after we broke up because I feel like I've been like ignoring that part of myself for the last couple of years, and that's something I feel like I'll probably will always listen to rap like to some extent. Like I might not listen to like the newest rapper or whatever, but old school or like things that I enjoy, like that's a part of me that I feel like I always get to. And like even like rapping myself, like I don't do it as much anymore, and I'm like I'd say I'm pretty rusty now, but it's something I feel like I'm still like wanting to pursue. Like I was saying, like want to make my own song this year. I want to like release a couple songs. It's something that I always kind of have like a yearning for.
Yeah,
that's like the one thing I think that I feel like I'll probably stick with forever. Electronic music I probably will, but as far as like DJing and stuff, like I'm not going to DJ forever. I mean, maybe
you're not going to be like the 80-year-old.
I mean, depending on how it takes off, you never know. But I feel like that's like the one thing I can say consistently that is like probably going to be a staple for me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even if I was 60, I could see myself listening to like some rap, because that just for me is like, it really evokes a lot of emotion for me, and it's meaningful to me in a sense. Like it's reflective of my past, reflective of my future, something that's like always kind of been there for me.
Yeah. What do you think your biggest passion is in this world?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like it changes, to be honest. Like when I first moved out here, my biggest passion was music. That was literally the only reason I moved to Denver. I came to visit Denver one time. I was like, it's sick. They have a million shows. Every artist known to man comes here. It's awesome. And I think now more so my passion has sort of shifted from music into like making connections with people.
Yeah.
I like really have a passion for making like genuine connections. I think you and I were talking about this at the park a little bit. I think now that's something I'm like really passionate about is like enjoying time with other people and like really like spending time, like quality time, and like meeting people and enjoying people. And I've had so many great friends that I've met out here, and I'm always passionate about trying to spend time. It's like last night I was mixing with my buddy. Tonight I'm doing this with you. Tomorrow maybe get a drink with my other buddy. It's like I'm just really trying to experience life and experience other people.
That definitely resonates a lot with me.
Yeah.
I there've always been signs that I've liked the connection piece. Like I'm always someone to just like chat up some random person,
Yeah.
like some stranger in a gym or a
Right.
grocery market, or just make like a little quip and see if it turns into something.
For sure.
But I don't think I realized like how deeply that connection part mattered to me until pretty recently. And now I'm like, oh shit, like that is actually like a huge like purpose in this world is like connecting with other human beings.
I think the way you just said that resonates with me perfectly.
Yeah.
It's like that feels like almost like my purpose. You know what I mean? It's like what's the point of being alive if you're not going to like make genuine connections?
Yeah. And I think DJing, getting up in front of a stage and like mixing, obviously that has like, there's a level of connection there. There's a deep connection there, but it's also a connection to an entire group of people, not like a deep connection with one individual that you're like meeting and locking eyes and sharing similar space and stuff. So it's different kind of levels of like, and different ways to connect with people.
Like you're connecting with the night itself. Like not a person itself. Like when I'm like DJing, like Friday, for example, I'm playing at Larimer Lounge. I'm connecting with Friday night. You know what I mean? Like all the people that are in that place, like the Friday night vibe, like that's what I'm connecting with on that night. And I feel like I want to have a deep connection with that because I want to like show my passion for it. Like I'm not like, oh, let me just go out here and play music for these people for an hour. It's like I want to like really play stuff that I feel like people are gonna actually enjoy and what's gonna like make someone's Friday night. You know what I mean? Like what I would want if I walked into a bar on a Friday night, like what I would be happy hearing. I think that's how I do a lot of my sets. And I think letting go of your ego, I guess, to say for DJing is really important and something that not a lot of people can do. Because so a lot of people will have a set in mind or they'll practice a set and they'll go play it exactly like that no matter what. They'll look at the decks the entire time, play their whole set, and that's that.
Yes.
What I like to do is like I practice, sure, but I freestyle on my sets. So that way I have the ability, like if you practice a set meticulously, it's extremely difficult to be like, all right, I'm going to like switch up this song here because you have everything planned out for the whole like cascade of the set. But as if you're a little bit more loose and a little bit more of a freestyler, which is the way I like to do it, like everyone has their own style, it gives me personally the ability to adapt to the crowd.
Yeah.
Like there's been a couple times, like I'm not saying every single song I play is the best song ever at all times. There's been a couple times where I play a song that I think is awesome. I look up and I'm like, oh shit, people are hating it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, let me change this up really quick. Or like I'll be like playing a certain vibe and I'm like, it's time to go to a different vibe. And I bring in the song for the different vibe. I look around like maybe I should go back to the other vibe. I think that the last time you saw me at Larimer Lounge for that progressive house show, there was a part in that show where I was going to bring it into like a more trance type stuff. And people were feeling like the melodic house so much. I looked up, I was like, I cannot do that. Like, I had like this little plan in my head to play like 2 or 3 like trance songs. And I was like, I think they're going to be awesome right now. But like, I can tell like I cannot switch this vibe right now. So it's like being able to adapt like that in the moment is like, I feel like for me, like really kind of curating and feeling the room a lot.
Which also ties back to sort of the idea that you feel strongly that like creating something from nothing, that spontaneity piece, like whether you're freestyling or like, you're not just tracing something, you're not just practicing drawing a mountain over and over and over again. You're saying, I'm actually going to like adapt and respond to the crowd and to the energy and figure out what to play on the spot. Do you know Rick Rubin? Okay. So like I just finished his book, The Creative Act. And he says, you're not a good artist or a bad artist. You are acting as an artist. So you're either, acting as an artist or you're not.
Right.
It's just a way of life, a way of being, an act, rather than something that you can execute on poorly or well. And part of that mentality is understanding that the creative act, the approach to creating something new is purely a function of like your own desire, your expression of emotion, your expression of self. And it's not based on others people's perceptions,
Right.
or nor should it be based on like how you think it's going to be received.
Mm-hmm.
True art should purely be self-expression,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of outcome, regardless of how people take it or don't. Now that seems pretty contradictory to the role of a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost the antithesis.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like you're still able to create, express, emote through mixing, not the production side, but specifically mixing, that still allows for alignment with your audience?
Well, I would almost disagree that they're opposites with that.
Oh, really?
Just because in the sense, like, even if I am adjusting to the crowd, I'm still doing music that I picked. You know what I mean? It's still my choice and my creative take on it. So even if I am, it's not like I'm conforming to the crowd to play something I don't want to play. Every single thing that I have on my USB is something that I curated myself and something that I'm interested in playing. So if I have to pivot for something to adjust to the crowd, it's not me giving up my creativity or me doing something to conform to the crowd. It's me picking something else from my bucket that I think is going to be more enjoyable for them. So it's not like taking away from my creativity, because everything on my USB was curated by me. Like, I don't have anything on there that I didn't just like, sign up for a song list or something. I've handpicked every single song on my USB and my playlists. So, it's still creative for me because maybe it wasn't my first choice, but now I have to think on the spot and think of something else from like my pool that I'm going to bring out that they're going to enjoy. So I would disagree in the sense that it almost forces you to be more creative in the moment.
Right, because it applies constraints.
Yeah.
It applies constraints. It's not that it's forcing you what to create. And there's not really a signal of like, I know definitively that they're going to like this song. So you still can't ever know the outcome, but you're sort of absorbing those constraints and understanding your conditions better. And then you're leveraging this new knowledge and creating something that's going to ultimately be received better by that audience.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I think that's why there's a big difference, at least for me personally, in taking requests versus reading the crowd. Like there's a lot of good money in it, and like wedding DJing, that's like something I've never been interested in because I don't want anyone to tell me what I have to play.
Yeah.
Like even like the times where I've had to pivot at certain shows, like I mentioned, it's not like anyone's came up and said, yo, like this sucks, or like the promoter's like, oh, you got to change it up because this isn't good. It's like a feeling. Like, I feel like you just have to feel the crowd. It's like, I can see how people are moving, how people are interacting. And it's like, that's something like, oh, okay, maybe I'm going to do something a little bit different of a choice here.
Yeah.
It's not like someone's come up to me and saying like, play drum and bass or play tech house. I mean, I would love if someone told me to play drum and bass, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not like that's why like wedding DJing or like more curated events, like DJing for an event or something like that specifically and not a show, is a little bit different. I think I'm a little bit more choosy with some of the opportunities I have, because I'm like, if someone tells me to play a certain genre, like I'm okay with that, but I want to be able to play whatever I want within that field. It's like, I want to have a level of creativity where I can go in there and I can play a Lojo set that I'm happy with, and not like, hey, you have to play this song or you have to play this many tech house songs or whatever. And I've been trying to really surround myself with opportunities where I can play that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that insight. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I've also experienced where I won't mention the name, but there is an artist that from a production perspective, absolutely adore him.
Yeah.
But I saw him live, and I'll admit, someone told me beforehand, not the best live performance.
Yeah.
But I was like, I like him. I'll see him. And after the show, and throughout the show, I was just like, he doesn't get it. Like there's just clearly a disconnect. Like the music that he produces, beautiful.
Right.
But there was a just utter lack of connection between him and the entire audience rather. Like there just was, he was playing something that I think in his mind, like that was objectively, or maybe subjectively, but like subjectively good music. But there's no emotion through it. There's really no like connection with the crowd and like understanding it. And I wasn't even staring at his deck. I think there's just maybe a little bit of like almost I don't think maybe a lack of empathy is the word. Maybe, but I don't think I don't think that's right. There's just a lack of, maybe like emotional awareness or like how we receive it.
Yeah, I think in electronic music scene specifically, there's a really big overlap of DJs and producers, and it causes people to always just consider like DJ producer one together. But not everyone that can DJ can produce, and not everyone that can produce can DJ. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Like there's,
I know.
there's some people that have gotten famous from only DJing. You know, they might like, and then maybe they started producing after they got famous, but they got famous because their song selection is so good that they grew to the top from just picking songs and DJing. The common misconception of a lot of electronic music fans is that they always go hand in hand. And it's like, you know, sometimes there's like you said, there's a killer producer that like can't DJ at all, or like can have the technical ability to DJ, but doesn't have like the, you know, the go for the DJing.
Soft
like,
side.
yeah, the soft side,
Yeah.
the soft skills, the understanding, the feeling for it. Cause like I always tell people, I literally just told this to the guy I was hanging out with last night. DJing, technically, the technical skills for the basics of DJing are really not that difficult. The biggest part of DJing is knowing the songs and like knowing when to play what song, like knowing your music, having a good playlist. That's like the number one most important thing. The actual, like, I could teach anyone how to mix, like, you know, mixing two songs together. You know, when you get into adding effects and stuff like that, it gets a little bit more touchy. But as far as doing a basic transition, a basic mix, it's really not that difficult at all. The most difficult thing is being able to curate that playlist or curate those songs or feel that crowd out, or, you know, get the right songs in the right moment, and, you know, understand your role in the night, you know, like understand where you're at or what you're doing or kind of how you're going to play the energy on the crowd. And those are like the kind of like the softer skills for DJing. Like the technical skills can only get you so far, but without those softer skills, you're only going to make it so far.
What is your role as a DJ?
I think it depends, you know. I think for me, my role that I usually try to play is I try to play things that people aren't not listening to a lot. Like, not that I'm like against playing like hits, you know, everyone loves hits, everyone loves bangers, everyone loves great songs, but
They're popular for a reason.
yeah, 100%. But I always, every single set I play, I try to play if like depending on the vibe, you know, at minimum a couple songs that I'm like fairly confident not a lot of people know. You know, like I want to show people new music. I want to show people things that they're not listening to. You know, I have a progressive house series that I do on SoundCloud where I release mixes monthly, and I feature local artists on those mixes, local progressive house artists that I respect and people that I, you know, really enjoy. And it's been going very well. And I usually will do a mix of myself, like 20, 25 minutes or so. And then I'll do the guest mix after that. And I just had my guest who's going to be coming out next week, Alchemy, Alan, he's awesome. He asked me, he's like, you know, how do you do your mixes? Like, how do you do your solo mixes for this? Like, do you want me to send you the track list first? Do you want me to get my mix first? And I said, honestly, I was like, I'm so confident in the tracks that I'm picking for these. I record it ahead of time. And I was like, out of every single one so far, I've never had to re-record one. I was like, I just know, like, I feel like these songs I'm picking are not going to be a song that someone else is going to pick for this.
Wow.
And it's, I mean, I don't want to jinx myself, like not saying I know every song ever, you know what I mean? But there's been 4 or 5 in a row where I record my mix a week ahead of time and they don't play the same song. I'm like, I feel confident in this collection of these picks. Like the person that is on this is not going to pick one of those songs.
Yeah. And I've heard discography is like probably the hardest part of DJing.
100%.
And you have like your song list, but you also have to organize it.
Yeah.
that to me is like, I have a good collection of liked songs on Spotify.
Right.
You know, I'm confident in my liked songs, but it's just 5,000 liked songs.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
I have a couple of playlists, but it's not great. Whether rapping or producing or mixing, perhaps, do you find that there's a time, a place, an emotion, or something that you tend to just fall back to and continually try to showcase through your music?
If I had to choose one, I mean, I don't even know if I could qualify as emotion, but I think for me, I try to show a deep and genuine appreciation for the music. That's like the baseline that I try to give. And like I was even talking to my dad
For
about
the music itself.
For the music itself, yeah, and like a passion maybe to say, you know. I was talking to my dad about it last year, actually, when I first got into DJing here last year. And I'm not, you know, going crazy with it, but it was kind of taking off a little bit. You know, I had a goal for myself last year to play one show. And then I played, I think, 17 shows last year. You know, so I told my dad, I was like, man, this is really taking off, like way more than I thought. I'm having a lot of fun. It's awesome. And he said something that really resonated with me. He's like, it's because people can tell you're passionate about it. Yeah. He's like, you know, there's some people that are doing it only to make money, or some people are like doing it only to like be cool, or like, you know, I want to be like the man of the night, or I want to like get famous. And it's like, for me, those are the wrong reasons. Like, would that be cool to be famous? I mean, sure. You know, would it be cool to like blow up? Sure. But like, that's not like, I'm not going out there for that reason.
Yeah.
I'm going out there because I truly and thoroughly enjoy music, and I really am excited to share it with people. And I get a ton of enjoyment sharing it with other people.
Yeah.
You know, I actually had a work meeting 2 weeks ago. We had like a little like coffee break just to kind of get to know people. And I was talking about DJing, and like someone mentioned like, oh, like that's a really cool like side hustle. Like that's so interesting. And I actually told them, I was like, I wouldn't really even consider it a side hustle. I was like, for me, a side hustle is something that you're really like just giving a ton of work for some sort of goal, and really like pushing yourself and giving all your time away to something. And for me, it's so enjoyable for me. It doesn't even feel like work or anything. It's like, it's crazy to me that I get to go play songs I'm passionate about for an hour and then get paid for that. Like that doesn't feel like a hustle for me. Like I'm excited to play. Like I'll play a Wednesday night. I'll play a Monday night. Like, it's not about like, I don't care if there's 100 people there. I don't care if there's 2 people there. I like thoroughly enjoy playing the music. And I think for me, that kind of like shows, and that might be some of the reason why it's like going the way it has been going, because I think people can pick up on that. People can like, people can tell if you're genuine or not. You get a good read on
100%.
people.
And they may not even know that they're picking up on it. Like I think, I mean, that really just, I think, pinpoints the underlying force behind the creation of this podcast is like just the recognition that like, oh man, like every human being has so much potential energy to create something amazing, so long as it aligns with their values and like who they genuinely are as a person. And when it doesn't, it's palpable. Whether you can sort of observe that as a I hate to I'm going to throw him under the bus because I don't like him anymore. I feel like there's a shift in Rufus to Soul that happened before their last album release, where they were no longer creating music from a genuine place of like creation and a passion behind the music, and it shifted to an obligation to create because they have fans.
Yeah.
And I remember when they released like a teaser song, I heard it and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
This is trash. Like,
this is not the artist I love.
Yeah, like it's not the artist I have a records of,
Right.
like, because I think it's so cool to own, their albums, and merch. And I remember when they released the album, I was like, this is just like if you gave, honestly, it sounded like if you gave AI all of the sounds of Rufus Du Sol and said, create an album that uses their prior discography.
Yeah.
And create something from it that sounds like Rufus.
Like, here's our sound samples, make a widely palatable album.
Yeah, that was
like that's the ChatGPT prompt.
That's the prompt. And then I don't even know the name of the latest Bloom, not Bloom. That's Ben, but it doesn't matter. I feel like my point is people may not recognize it or understand why they pull away from something. Or why they're drawn to something, but I do think it fundamentally comes down to that authenticity piece.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that unfortunately we do see a lot with artists. There's a lot of artists that, like, I'm not going to say everyone, obviously, but there's a lot of artists that once they get a taste of that money and fame, they'll do anything to keep that. So it's like, oh, the record label is going to tell you how to write this album and we're going to do exactly what they say. And it takes away from like the rawness or the creativity from that artist because they're doing it for the money. And I think that's why a lot of people, in the 70s and stuff, fell in love with like psychedelic rock or, some of that classic rock when they really when they were first starting out, like they were really sending a message, and it was like pretty much like an FU to the music scene. It's like, we're going to do whatever we want. We're going to go crazy. We're going to smash guitars on stage. Like, we're going to rebel. And people are like, all right, this is nice to see like people are not just like conforming to what society like wants them to do. And then, you see some of them get famous and fade away from that. But it's like in the early raw years, like when Led Zeppelin first started out, or like when the Grateful Dead was like playing at parks and stuff in the late 60s, it's like that was like just a raw, genuine appreciation for creativity.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, capstone or, capped up by freaking record labels trying to say, this is what we know the people want. You guys are gonna have to make your next album like this.
Right. Yeah. If you get a chance to read The Creative Act, I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
That's like one of the very, very, very strong sort of storylines, like through points in the book, is just like how imperative it is that it's a creative. It's art is creative, whether it's, drawn, painted, musically created, digitally created, whatever it is, like it's creative and therefore it's expression, and it's not an outcome,
Hmm.
it's an input.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's definitely been a theme of I think a lot of people's lives, mine included, is just like appreciating the process. I mean, it's a fucking cliche at this point, like, like the process, not the journey, or whatever, or
Right.
journey, not the destination, whatever. But it is so true. Like when you lose touch with like the experience and the process, like it's clear.
Hmm.
People know it. It's you can hear it in the music.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
see it in the artists. But I think when you have a like strong conviction behind like who you are, what kind of art you want to actually create, it makes it a lot easier to continue that through fame.
Yeah.
I think it's when you maybe got fame before you really truly understood yourself, then it becomes a problem to hold on to that true identity because you're not really certain in it and you're questioning it. But you do see artists who can reach extraordinary levels of fame, fortune, whatever, but they're still able to create like really amazing pieces of work,
Yeah,
sort of
absolutely.
almost despite that. Probably, or it's actually becomes more of a lever.
Yeah.
Like they actually, kind of like you were mentioning how like you recently got the ability to produce things.
Hmm.
It's like, well, that's always been something you said, basically always been something you've wanted to do, but now
Right.
you actually have the means, and so you know for some people, they're able to capitalize on those means and create something even more incredible, through additional resources like fame, fortune.
Yeah.
Reach and money can get you a lot of things, but if you don't know what you're shooting for, it can really take you down.
No, 100%. I would definitely agree with that. And I think, a big difference in art is people making it for themselves or people making it for other people. And it's like when you're making it for yourself and for your own expression, that's like what really shows through. And like I think like a huge artist, some people may disagree, like a big artist I think I've seen that with a lot is Tyler the Creator. Like when he first started, they were doing that horror rap, it was like crazy, like super crazy. And he's just changed so much since then. It's been absolutely crazy, like how much of a difference that's made in his, like the progression of his albums. And like I think another rapper you see that with is like Mac Miller, for example. Like when he was rapping in high school, it was like that, going in, like all that kind of stuff. And then like as he transcended, he did a lot of different things musically, some slower, kind of like singing stuff, some jazz type stuff, like stuff incorporating live instruments. And that's like and people are like, oh, like he's changed his sound, like we don't like him, but they don't understand is these people are growing the same as we are. Like they're growing as artists, and just because someone changes their sound, it doesn't mean like, oh, I don't like, maybe you won't support them because they're not like they were. But if you really truly support that artist, you should have some respect for them, like transcending their ideas and their sound. So like it's not like, oh, I don't like him anymore because he doesn't make like high school rap bangers. It's like I have appreciation because look how much he's grown to where he can musically do a whole different thing and still kind of have his own flavor to it.
There was a movie I was watching the other day. Oh, The Intern.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so bad with actors or actresses.
Oh,
But
same.
yeah, okay. So
I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone literally.
so the main character female lead was talking to the main character guy, and this is so embarrassing because they're such big actors. But regardless, they're talking, and the Meet the Fockers guy is
Yeah.
talking about like his I believe his, I guess he's a widow, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and was talking about his wife, or his past wife, his wife who passed, and was saying like it was just amazing because like basically we like just grew together. And then the female lead was like, oh, like that's so beautiful, that's everything I really want, is just to like grow with someone. It's like I feel like that is like growing with someone is not a healthy expectation.
Yeah.
It's impossible. You're
Mm-hmm.
never, or if it is, then you're probably forcing growth in a direction that isn't true to you,
Mm-hmm.
or you're encouraging growth on their part in a direction that isn't true to them.
Right.
You're going to grow the way you're going to grow as human beings, and there's all these influences. There's your genetic influences, there's your
Mm-hmm.
familial and upbringing influences, there's the current influences on you. There's just so many things that are going to change the way that you grow. You cannot possibly expect two people to perfectly grow together.
100%.
But that isn't to say that you can't appreciate their growth.
Yeah.
And perhaps there may be components of growth that you don't align with. So if Mac Miller changes his style or changes the types of, the conversations, the lyrics that he's having, it's like, well, you can dislike that because it's not something that you appreciate, but that's very different than someone losing sight of like who, like the purpose. Like there's a difference between like growing in a direction where you're like, that seems interesting. That doesn't seem like the Mac Miller I knew.
Right.
Versus like, oh, I wish Mac Miller was like the good old days of this. And it's like, well, don't wish someone not to change. Don't wish them not to grow. Just now we're all evolving constantly.
Right.
And it's silly to expect that someone's not going to. And it's sad. You don't want someone to stop growing. You don't want someone to stop evolving. So when do you feel like it's distinguishable when that growth stems from like, or that change rather stems from like growth and like, hey, I want to explore this in a different way versus outside pressures to conform? How do you feel like you can distinguish that as an outsider?
I feel like it's extremely difficult to articulate, honestly. For me, it's just like a feeling. Like it's hard to put into words, like, or put a definition on like how to feel that. But for me, it's like the feeling I get from the music. It's like I don't feel that sense of creativity, or it's like I don't feel their passion for it anymore, and it's really difficult to put into words. Like an example. Used to be one of my favorite bands, this band called Goose.
Yeah.
And I saw them here like 3 or 4 years ago at the art park, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Like so amazing. Like that was right when they were still kind of just getting started and stuff. And now like they've gotten so big, I'm really just not a fan of them at all anymore with some of the latest stuff. Like the last time I saw them, I left like 20 minutes in. And it's like sad to see that happen to people who like were so young and creative at some point. And like, that'd be an unpopular opinion. I know they're an amazing, popular band. A lot of people enjoy them. But for me, like it just lost that sense of like rawness and creativity from like the first couple of times I saw them before they really like, cascaded into how large they are today. We're like playing Bonnaroo and Halloween and all that. It's like when I saw them when they're just getting started out, there's a lot more rawness and creativity, like ripping 40-minute solos, like a lot more like soulfulness in that music. And I think like, there's probably some people that will disagree with that. But for me personally, it's the feeling that I get from the music. And the feeling that I get from the music now is not what I got from it, 5 years ago. And it's hard to like, I can't put a pin on exactly what that means. But, that's how I relate. Like for Mac Miller, the example, I'll go back to that. Like, the new stuff. Some of that maybe not have been my style, but I can appreciate it because I could really feel the emotion. Like I could tell, he's really trying to say what he wants to say. He's really trying to showcase the, musical talent that he has in a different way. And it's a way that he's passionate about. It's not like the label's like, oh, let's make this song about falling in love or something. It's like he's really like, I at least felt like it was really raw about his experience or about, his experience with love or what he's been through and that kind of stuff.
I think it's two things. One, like it's the emotional connection or the emotional response to the music, right? And if you're accustomed to a specific emotional response and then you listen to them and you don't get that, you can't perhaps articulate that, but you can feel it and you can understand like, oh, that's just not the same.
Right.
But it's really hard when you do see an artist in an intimate setting and then they grow to a point where intimacy is sort of a thing of the past.
Right.
And that's something where even if they're creating music that's authentic and aligns with their, their core, and you feel like, oh, that's the music I want to hear, there's still a different emotional response when the intimacy is just utterly lacking.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. But on the flip side of that, I think that artists, regardless of size, will still make an effort to have those types of settings if they truly are like about the music.
That's a good point.
For example, probably my favorite progressive house artist is Marsh. He's like one of my biggest inspirations for. He's one of my biggest inspirations for producing. He's like one of my favorite artists to listen to. He's absolutely phenomenal, and he's huge. He's gigantic. He's globally known. He plays gigantic venues everywhere, sells out all these venues like crazy. And last summer he played Regenerate Festival here at Civic Center.
Yeah.
Humongous crowd. He's a gigantic, globally known artist. He played at Larimer Lounge Treehouse afterwards for free for like 50 people. And it's like, that's the kind of things where it's like, no matter how big he is, he's not scared to go have an intimate moment. Like I was 2 feet from him with 50 people there. And it's like, I've never seen an artist that big in a setting that small. And that to me showed a true passion for the music because he's not getting paid a boatload for that show. He might not even got paid at all. Like, you know, he's not getting, definitely not his fee or whatever. And it's like, I'm not worried about the money, or I'm not worried about like how big or how many people I can have in my Instagram story for my show. I'm going to like share with people that really enjoy my music. And that was really cool and really special for me, because I was like, this guy is gigantic, and like he's gonna come play at a venue that I play at. You know what I mean? And it was just like unreal, and it's like for free. Like they're not selling tickets, they're not making any money off that. He's doing it because he's passionate about sharing that music.
Yeah, it's true. I think there are signals when the passion is lacking, and there are signals when the passion is still there.
Yeah. Because like, you know, even Above and Beyond, they do like the similar thing. Like they'll do like Above and Beyond is they're humongous, like, you know what I mean? And they'll do like when they do their giant events, they'll do like a deep day the day before, and you can like get tickets and go to that. And sometimes it'll be like on a boat or something, like with like 20 people or something, and they're gigantic. You know, I think I went to their event in LA a couple years ago, and they had a pre-party at like a rooftop bar, and it was like really small. You know, it's like just those kind of things, like showing appreciation, and like, you know, we can still do it on a small scale, even though we're gigantic. We don't have to always sell out stadiums.
Yeah, that's a fair point. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Oh man, that's quite the question.
I love this question.
That's a really good question.
It's an easy one to just throw everyone.
I know, it really just throws you for a loop, because it just makes you think about all the advice you've received in your life, and it's like, man, what like really had the most impact, and what like really truly like shaped things the most. It's kind of hard to like put it into the right words. I'm definitely not gonna be able to word it as like eloquently as she did. But when I first started seeing my therapist, like one of the best pieces of advice she gave me was like, the thing that matters the most is like my interpretation and my experience of like certain things. So, you know, it's like, she's like, you know, I was thinking like, this person hates me or something like that. She's like, well, that's like what you think, you know, like that's, it's hard to like describe it, but it's like, she's like, you're the only one thinking that, but you don't know that for certain. So it's like, you can't like stress your, like, this is the way to put it. Like, you can't worry yourself or stress yourself out about things that you don't know are certain. And it's like, you assume people's feelings, or you like, hey, this, you know, this girl hates me, or like, oh, I fucked this guy over, he doesn't like me anymore. It's like that. It's like, you don't know that they feel that way unless they tell you that explicitly. So if you spend all your time worrying and thinking about them feeling emotions that you're making up for them, you're only gonna like detract from yourself. And I think that for me like flipped this switch and really like just transformed like how I interact with people and like how things are. It's like, you know, if someone like ignores you at the bar, you say hi to someone, they don't say hello back. It's not like, I'm not like all day thinking like, oh, that guy like hates me, or like I'm weird, or I did something wrong. It's like, you don't have any idea what's going on with that person. You know what I mean? Like, you can't like articulate their feelings for them unless that guy explicitly was like, yo, like you're a weirdo, or like, you know, like, you shouldn't have said hey to me or something like that. It's not like worth going and like, you know, worrying yourself to death over. And I think that for me, it's made such an impact because it's so relative to so many other different interactions. Like it can be like anything from saying hello to someone and passing at the grocery store, like trying to go get a girl's number or something. It's like, no matter how any of those interactions play out, it's not anything to negatively detract from yourself. It's not, oh, I did something wrong, or, oh, there's something wrong with me because that didn't work out, or like, you know, there's something didn't right. It's not, you're just assuming that, you know, you don't know that for certain. So you're worrying yourself over uncertainties when that's not the case.
Yeah.
And that really like was a big like reframing in how I think.
I love that. I think that it's so true. Like, you don't know what people are thinking. You don't know what's going on in their heads. And if you make assumptions, or if you make decisions based on assumptions you make on them, then like, that's not a great way to live life.
No, it's like, I'm not going to respond to this guy because I think he hates me, but you don't know that. Like, maybe he had a long day. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'll take that little chunk. And,
I think that was like, for me, like, because I feel like for me personally, the last like 4 years have been the most like transformative growth years I've ever had in my entire life. And that was like the beginning of when I started seeing my therapist. And like right after that is like, I feel like it just helped like reshape so many things, you know? Like for example, I had roommates that I lived with when I first moved out here, and we had like a situation where I moved out and I didn't really express it the right way, and everyone dealt with it in a difficult way. And there was like 2 or 3 years where I was like, they hate me, like they're not ever going to want to reconcile with me, like there's not any sort of recourse here. And then after going to therapy, I got to the point where I reached out to them And like I remember one of them, my buddy Will, we're actually really good friends now. Who we always have been. He's like, we've always been friends. He's like, I was there for you. He's like, I was waiting for you to reach out. And it's like I that whole time was like in my head, like he hates me. Like they don't want to hear from me. Like why would they want to hear from me after that? You know? And then like it's like I was like, man, I could have reconciled this 2 years ago if I didn't get so caught up in these preconceived notions of how they felt about that.
It's so easy to just like draw a conclusion and then create some sort of fictitious reality in your mind.
Yeah, I think sometimes, you know, I was a lot less emotionally and mentally aware then too. I think for me, at least in that case, a lot of times that stems from sort of trying to take the easy way out.
Mm.
Like it's super easy to be like, that person hates me. We're never going to get back to, we're never going to fix that. Other than trying to do the work to actually fix it. Or trying to own up and be confident enough to say, hey, I made a mistake. I did this incorrectly. You know, like we talked about earlier, I didn't have the tools to handle that properly.
Yeah.
But it's like at that time, I didn't have that. It's like, it was super easy to be like, they hate me. That's it. We're never going to talk again. Goodbye. You know, that's the easy way out. Just shut it out and ignore it. But when you face your problems head on and you really deal with it, that's like truly the only way to move forward.
Yeah. It sounds to me like you've put a lot of energy towards self growth.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, creating this best version of yourself. Do you feel like that's something that's going to stand the test of time and you're always going to prioritize? Or do you think you'll get to a point where you're like, you know what, I think I've focused on this enough. Now I'd like to sort of turn my energy elsewhere?
I feel like it's probably going to always be a priority to me at this point because it's had such an impact on me in the last like 4 or 5 years. It's something that I think I can't let to go to the wayside.
Yeah.
Like maybe it might not be as much of a priority, but I feel like it's not something I'm ever going to be like, oh, I don't need to do that anymore. Like I personally feel like there's always room for growth and there's always ways you can change and adapt. And it's not like, oh, I have to change everything about myself or like, you know, I feel like I'm in an extremely good place mentally. And like, I just went through a hard breakup in January and I've dealt with it like phenomenally well, better than I ever have with anything in my life. And I've had a phenomenal year. I had a lot of transitions, a lot of great things happening. And even with all that, it's like, I think of a common thing that people do is they go to therapy, they get through something and then see ya, never again, therapy. I still go consistently because I think there's always something to learn. There's always a different perspective to be had. And sometimes maybe I'm just venting or I'm just opening up to my therapist. I'm not getting a lot of advice because I'm just talking a lot. But even still, that experience for me is growth. It's like I don't want to like, oh, I'm healed now. I dealt with this so well. I don't need any more help. Yeah. So like, you know, maybe I'll decrease the frequency. Like I think I'm going once a month or once every 3 weeks now instead of once a week or something. Yeah. But I think it's important to have that because even if there's like, even if, you know, 2 times in a row, it's just me like kind of venting to her and her listening. Maybe that third time she'll give me a sentence or a piece of advice. I'm like, you know, I never thought about it like that or something I can grow from. So I think it's important to do things like that even when you don't need them. Yeah. Like it's not just, oh, I'm having a horrible time. I need to go to therapy to get through this. It's like a sort of a maintenance factor and something that you can continue to pick up pieces from and learn from. And it's not like, oh, I just went through a hard breakup. Let me go back to therapy for a couple months.
It's a continued investment in yourself.
100%.
And as much as sometimes like the number of subscriptions that exist frustrate me, I do feel like a benefit of subscriptions is that it sort of instills in your mind that there is value attached to the continued usage of something, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's value in Spotify every day. I literally use it every day.
Right.
Know? So like it makes sense that I pay for it on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. But I think you can almost take that to appreciate like an investment in yourself and like growth and therapy. Or I've been seeing a life coach recently, which has been great because I think like that's what I need more. Like it's funny you mentioned that some people go to therapy and then they stop. And like I kind of had that experience where like I was going through something really, really, really hard and I stuck with therapy for a few years.
Right.
But then I got to a point where I moved to the other side of the world and I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop this because logistically it's me a pain in the ass. And so I've been looking for something to like, I don't want to say fill the gap, but like I know that there's growth that needs to be taken place personally.
Like your next step.
My next
like
step.
You might like your life coach. That's like your step after therapy.
Exactly.
Like I've had my therapy chapter, but I need a little bit something else.
And I know that there will 100% be another therapy chapter.
For sure.
Not forced by a horrible breakup,
Mhm.
not forced by like losing everything that I thought my world was,
Right.
'cause all I did was work and girl and nothing else. And I
Yeah.
lost both of them in the same week. I was like, oh, fuck.
Right.
So like, I don't think I'll ever get to a point where it's like that dire,
Mhm.
but there's a season for it. I'm reading a book called Make Money Easy by Lewis Howes. Do
Mhm.
you know who that is?
I'm not familiar.
I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail of the book because it's really not relevant. However, one thing, language that he often uses is like this concept that there's a season for X, meaning there's a
Mhm.
season for, and specifically in the book, he talks a lot about like sometimes just a season where you need to find a job to make money to pay bills.
Right.
But then there's going to be a season where you're able to pursue your passion and really find a job that like aligns with, what you want out of this world, your
Mhm.
purpose, right? And so I think thinking of life as more seasonal has changed, and definitely for the better, the way that I experience things in my life.
Mhm.
And recognizing there's winter season when I'm snowboarding, and then there's summer season when I'm socializing and going out more and playing more sports, being more active. And in the winter, I'm just like this little I don't know, this little hermit.
Yeah.
And everyone is around here. Like I
Right.
moved into this apartment in January,
Mhm.
and I mean this studio.
Yeah.
Very clearly my apartment.
Right.
And I didn't know any of my neighbors.
Yeah.
And then within the past couple of days, I've just seen more of them.
Mhm.
And they've been like starting with little smiles and hello. And then like today I met, oh my God, she had a little puppy Doberman.
Yeah.
Holy shit. One of the cutest little fucking things I've ever
Awesome.
seen. Literally just fresh out of the womb.
Yeah.
3 months old, little Doberman puppy. The paw is the size of my hand,
Oh,
but like
goodness.
tiny. So cute. And Goose is his name.
Oh, nice.
And I was chatting with Goose and Goose's owner, and it kind of dawned on me in that moment. I was like, you know what? I was being so hard on the city of Denver for
Mhm.
like people are just not social, and it's really a function of the season. No one's social in the winter. Everyone's going up to the mountains alone or with a small group to like
Right.
snowboard, ski, whatever. And like I met people through that, but like it's not a place where in the winter even in Atlanta, people are hibernating in the winter, and
Yeah.
they're not doing fucking anything.
I mean, no one wants to go to the park and meet someone when it's -10, you know? You know what I mean?
When there's 3 feet of snow outside,
No.
and you're brushing off snow in the morning, like fuck this shit.
Yeah.
People aren't going to the park to play volleyball. That's
No.
very clear.
My buddy today just said, he's like, man, like summer, he's like, this is gonna be fun. He's like, I'm tired of having plans every weekend. I was like, welcome to summer in Denver. Like, that's what it is. Everyone gets all their plans out now because they can't when it's -14, you're not being able to do those plans. So
It's
everyone
true.
gets all their socializing on at one time. And then the winter is where people lock down with like the people they already know.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like summer is like meeting new people, going out, trying new things. In winter, it's like, I'll go to dinner with some friends, or I'm not a skier or anything, I'm a little too old. I feel like I'd tore my ACL or something if I tried that.
Dude, you'd be fine.
But like, winter is like, I'm like, man, I'm just playing video games with some friends and back home. Like I'm going to dinner with some homies, or we'll go to like a sick concert. It's like, I'm down to meet new people, but it's not like as much as in the summer. Cause
Totally.
like you're saying, I feel like people are a little bit like maybe subconsciously even more closed off in the winter. Cause it's like there's a time for shelter. It's a time for safety. It's a time for what you're comfortable with.
Go internal.
Yeah, exactly.
You're exploring yourself,
Right.
a little bit more. I think it was particularly difficult for me. I'm just connecting these dots now, but I really haven't thought about it until this moment. But I think it was particularly difficult for me for 2 reasons. One, I decided to move to a new city in January.
Yeah.
So I mentioned I moved here, but that was years ago, and then moved away, and
Right.
it's whatever. So like, for all intents and purposes, I chose to like move to a new city in the dead of winter.
Right.
So it's understandable that like I'm not socializing as much, and I missed winter. In winter of 25? So 23,
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Australia peak summer.
Yeah.
And then they don't really have a winter. And then I came right back in our winter. So it was like 18 to 24 months of basically, we'll call it like 20 months
Yeah.
of just like summer.
Right.
And technically I was in Perth in the winter, but like
Mm-hmm.
winter in Perth, we're still doing weekly swims in the ocean.
Yeah.
It's
You
not
swim
like
here in winter, you're in trouble. You know?
you are, you're freezing, literally.
Right.
So it was just a bit different. So like completely just like go for have a year without winter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it just was jarring to come back and then experience the intense winter of a state like Colorado without having any experience close to that for 20 some months.
Yeah, for me, I kind of feel the same. Like, I really enjoy having seasons. And a lot of people, like, you know, like, oh, I want to go to San Diego because it's beautiful. They're like, I mean, yeah, it's phenomenal there. It's beautiful. But sometimes it's like, man, it's like, it sounds weird to say now. Like, I'm sure I'll probably regret it when winter comes. But it's like, it's nice to wake up sometimes and see your breath. Or, you know, it's nice to like go when I go to the gym in the morning before work. It's nice to go to the gym in the morning. And it's like, I'm like super cold in my car. You know, it's just like a whole different vibe, a whole different thing. And yeah, I like seeing snow, you know, like it's cool to wake up and everything is covered in like a white
100%.
snow. It looks phenomenal, you know. And I personally feel like there's a feeling and essence that winter brings that no other season can bring.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like waking up at like, you know, 6 a.m. on a snowy winter day and you can't hear anything. I feel like the snow capsules so much more sound. You know, it's like there's so much more quietness.
I'm
like,
literally getting chills.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like so much more peace, and it's almost like ethereal, you know, like it just like absorbs everything. It's like there's no insects, there's no birds chirping, you know, there's just all you can see is like the snow. You can hear your footsteps in the snow, you know, that crunch. And it's like that's something you cannot get without winter.
There's a Daniel Tosh stand-up where he's talking about seasons, and he's like, oh, like he's like, I always think it's funny. He lives in I guess LA, definitely California, but probably LA. And this is years ago, and I'll never forget this bit. And he's like, oh yeah, I was talking to someone about seasons, and they're like, oh, I love the seasons. He's like, yeah, so do I. That's why we skip the shitty ones.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's true, and proper LA, like they do. Maybe he's in more, well, LA Southern, but like he could be even further south in LA. And like you mentioned San Diego, like they really don't get seasons. Like it is sunny and somewhere between 60 and 100
every day, forever.
Yeah. But I mean, I would get bored as shit.
100%.
I learned that in Australia. I was like, fuck, I love seasons. I love the cold. I missed it. The only thing I wanted to do was snowboard.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't a big snowboarder beforehand. I just felt like a calling to like experience the winter. And I 100%. Think like, and it's so funny, like how many people, and I catch myself with this too. This is not, I'm not laying the blame on anyone else necessarily. I'm just saying like people have a tendency to fear change, yet there's so many examples of like the necessity of change and the healing power of change.
Yeah.
Whether it's seasons or growth as a human being or whatever, like there's just so many examples of the power that change holds. And like, I love fall. I think being from Atlanta has some cool things to offer, but I think one of the best things that Atlanta has to offer is fall. There's festivals every weekend.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on. Atlanta's brutally humid, so it's the one season other than it could be humid in winter. Like it's just kind of like the one of two seasons where it's like a month or of two that is not humid. And so you get like the colors, like since there's so many trees in Georgia, like we get yellow, you know, aspens and other trees out here, but like orange, red, yellow, still some green leaves on there. Like everything.
It's like from a postcard or a picture book.
100%. And so it really is just truly breathtaking. And so I've grown to really, really, really appreciate that part of Atlanta. But yeah, I find that Tosh thing so funny because it's like when I first heard that, I was like, yeah. And then now I'm like, I don't agree with that. Like, I love the seasons. The change is where the beauty is.
Well, and even if you do consider it a shitty season, I think for me, like one of the biggest things about Denver that makes it so like enjoyable to live here is how much fun the summers are. And I truly believe that the summers would not be that fun if the winter wasn't so harsh.
Of course.
It's like, you know, the great 50 Cent once said, you know, joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain.
Right.
And it's like summer wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for winter.
100%.
Like you wouldn't enjoy summer so much and want to go out so much and have such an awesome time if it wasn't for being locked inside in -10 degrees. If it was 70 degrees every every single day. Like there might be some weekend like, oh, I'm not going to go to that pool party this weekend because it's going to be like that for the next 6 months. But when winter's coming up, it's like I'm gonna go to that pool party because there's not gonna be another one in a couple months.
True.
It pushes you to do more things and to have more excitement in your life when you only have a certain period of time to do that.
Yes.
And it's like activities like rooftop bars or going to walk for a park or going to play volleyball. It's like those things wouldn't be as enjoyable if you could do them at any time you want.
100%.
If any single day you could pick, 6 months from now, I'm going to go play volleyball. But here it's like, I have a 3 or 4 month period where it's going to be extremely nice. Everyone's going to be out. Everyone's going to be high energy and on the same like feeling. So that's when I really want to go out there and enjoy it.
100%.
And that's what really makes it more enjoyable. And I think this is even including college, which was an amazing time. I think I've had the best summers of my life since I've lived in Denver because it's just so much fun. Like everyone's really on the same page. There's so many things happening. And I think that harsh winter really brings that out.
100%. What is pleasure without pain?
Exactly.
You can't have the good without the bad. You definitely need to experience that. Yeah.
100%. And I think that's like going back to some of the things we've already discussed. I think that's another reason why I was able to handle my breakup so well this year because I was enjoying, like maybe not enjoying is the right word, but I was really resonating with those sad feelings, like appreciating those feelings.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh, I'm so sad the world's over. Oh, I hate feeling like this. It was like, man, this is part of being a human. This is part of the human experience. This is a part of life. Like me having these feelings is proving to me that I'm alive. It's proving that I'm experiencing life. It's like when I'm like listening to those sad songs or whatever, it's like those songs are not ever going to hit the same as they are right now for this.
Yep.
And it's like, that's a whole different like way to scope the appreciation for that. Instead of just like pushing it off as, man, I'm so sad, everything sucks. It's like, I'm going to listen to stuff that I know is going to really hit me deep that might not hit me that deep again, or if I'm in a different state of mind. So I think being able to like flip the frame on that and sort of appreciate it in a sense and know that like, when I get happier after this, it's going to mean that much more to me is a different way to shape it. And that's what like really got me through a lot of the tougher times this year, having that mindset.
Yes. I heard this. I don't know if it's a quote, but a friend of mine in Perth said like to be human is to feel. I think that really perfectly articulates like, yeah, exactly what we've been talking about with AI or, DJing,
Right.
mixing, production, whatever. Like that is the unique part about being a human is like that we get to. And I think, you mentioned like the sadness and almost being like grateful for it. It's like, being a little bit more, call it introverted for lack of a better term in the winter and like focusing more on self and hibernating and emoting and feeling a bit more like sorrow and closed off, like that's not only a bad thing. That's also a good thing. And I notice like in my own, like my body changes a lot in the winter. Like I definitely pack on some pounds in the winter because like I love food and I'm not stopping my eating even if I'm not as active.
Right.
I don't change anything in the summer other than the fact that I'm playing hockey 3 days a week, basketball a day, volleyball a day, running and working out. Like it's just, there's so much shit and hiking. There's so much fun shit to do. Like I'm just like, I can't eat enough food because I'm constantly active. And then winter comes around, I'm accustomed to this lifestyle and it's okay. It's okay to get a little bit fluffier. It's okay to evolve with the season. It's okay to feel that sadness. And I think one thing that's been on my mind for the past that I'm really trying to shift is just like having better gratitude practices.
Yeah.
And part of one of the sort of gratitude practices, or one of the things that's shifted in my mind, in like my understanding of gratitude that shifted is like gratitude is, in my opinion, sort of the understanding that everything in life is a double-edged sword, that everything is both good and bad. With every yes is a no, with every no is yes, or with every yes is a no to everything else or whatever, And so when you experience sadness, you're obviously experiencing a hurtful emotion, a painful emotion, but it's a fucking great thing we're able to experience that, because if we couldn't experience that, if we're not grateful for that sadness, then we couldn't experience elation. We couldn't experience beauty if there isn't something that we don't appreciate aesthetically. So yeah, I think, part of gratitude is just like that conscious decision that there is a pro in it, even when it's hard to identify that pro.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was well said, honestly.
Cool. Lojo, thank you so very much for joining. I thoroughly enjoyed the time talking to you. As always.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. That was phenomenal.
It was my
Great
pleasure.
conversation.
Yeah, truly good.